Welcome everyone to this Introducing NLP webinar with Lorelei Blythe and Heidi Heron from the Worldwide Institutes of NLP. I'm Heidi Heron, and let me first introduce you to how this webinar will work. Today we will be sharing information with you about NLP to introduce you to the skills and tools of NLP that you can use in your everyday life or work. And you will hear our discussion and see our slides on your computer.
Hi, it's Lorelei Blythe here. Welcome to the webinar. It's a great way to be able to communicate to many different types of people, like Heidi said, from across the globe, and to be able to share what it is that we do and that we're passionate about doing. We are the Worldwide Institutes of NLP, which are made up of the Australasian Institute of NLP, the European Institute of NLP, and the American Institute of NLP. We're headquartered here in Sydney, Australia, and have been since 1994. I actually founded the Institute at that particular time. And we literally train around the world in Australia, also Singapore, in Malaysia, in Scotland, in England, in Poland, Brazil, and America. And I guess our intention is to be able to continue to offer what we would consider the most up-to-date training that anyone could receive anywhere in the world, with the emphasis on the whole person, literally, the body, the mind, the spirit. And we do offer what we consider a full cycle of NLP training certifications. In fact, we're one of the most respected NLP training organizations in the world, and the oldest in Australia. We certify our courses globally, like I said before, and we're members of the NLP organizations of for instance, the Australian Board of NLP, the American Board of NLP, the University with Robert Dilts in America, and the Institute for the Advancements of Studies in Health, which is also based in America. So there's a lot of background as far as foundational type of criteria that we come from. And I guess because Heidi and I are both very passionate about what we do, it really comes across in our trainings. We really enjoy the work that we do, and I do feel that it's definitely my calling, and I know it's Heidi's. She's very gifted at being a trainer, being able to facilitate the learning with other people. It's very gratifying when we actually see people when they do their change and they go through the process of learning how to literally, run their mind and their body and their brain.
And today we'll be sharing with you just an overview and introduction of NLP to figure out how you can utilize NLP if you choose to continue to learn it. We'll be looking at how you can use it in three different aspects and areas for yourself, within business, and also as a coach. So we'll talk about all three of those things. Lorelei and I, not only do we run the institutes and train NLP through the world, as she said, but we also run our own private practices, where we're utilizing the skills of NLP in a coaching or therapeutic manner, as well as in a corporate coaching, facilitating, training, and consulting manner with a lot of corporate clients globally. So it's an absolutely wonderful tool to be able to utilize with other people, and also, first and foremost, to utilize with yourself. So let's take a look real quick at what this NLP stuff is. And sometimes it can be a little bit of a misnomer that there's quite a big name for this Neuro Linguistic Programming stuff. And we just want to take a few minutes so that everybody's on the same page with what it is. There's an NLP, a natural language programming, which is a computer programming language, and a lot of people think, oh, okay, so this NLP stuff is about programming the mind. But it's not necessarily just about programming or making changes. It's really about understanding, because if we can understand what's happening in the mind, we can use it better. So just briefly, neuro deals with the mind and the neurology, but not just the brain, but every single set of neurons that you use. Our neurology is what's creating our emotions. It's from our neurology, as we'll talk about in a moment, with the linguistics and the programming, that everything that we think or say or touch or taste or smell creates a chemical reaction. And from this chemical reaction comes our behaviors, our emotions, our thoughts. So we're really utilizing the neurology of how a person is created and enhancing some of that neurology and changing some of it from time to time. So the neurology or the neuro of Neuro Linguistic Programming is much, much more than just the brain. It's all of us. It's everything that makes us living, breathing human beings. And Lorelei, linguistic.
The language or the linguistics determines how we interface and communicate with not only ourselves but other people as well. And interestingly, it's really directly connected to your verbal and nonverbal language, which describes your lives and how we live our lives and how we have our experiences. And we actually speak in terms of how we experience these things, and it comes from our five senses of, how we see things or hear things or feel things, even smell and taste things as well, actually. So linguistics is more than just the words that we use. Linguistics is also verbal and nonverbal communication. And a lot of times it's what people say nonverbally that speaks louder than their words. I'm sure there have been times when you've been in a situation with somebody and the way that they look at you or the way they hold their body is like you go, whoa, what's up with them, And linguistics is something that is what we call in NLP your psychology or your biology, because it's how you hold your body. And when you actually are a bit more adept at being able to have what we call sensory acuity or being able to understand how to notice these things about a person, their linguistics in their body language and the words that they say, because the words are also the only way that people can capture how they experience their life. So the linguistics is a huge part of NLP.
And the programming is dealing with not just the programs that we run in life, but the patterns. Patterns is probably a better word. The patterns of how we wake up in the morning. We have a pattern or a program for everything we do. A lot of times the mind and the programs that we run have been comparable or compared to how a computer runs. So just like our computer has PowerPoint or Word or whatever the programs are that you're using, we do the same thing. Our programs run on autopilot very unconsciously, and we have a program or a pattern for everything, how we fall in love, how we motivate ourselves, how we wake up, how we demotivate, how we procrastinate, absolutely everything. So utilizing NLP, we can understand how these programs are created and we can enhance them. So if I know how my program for motivation is run, then I can click in or I can utilize that pattern of that program and motivate myself every time. If I have a certain way that I stress, then I can find out how I do that so that I can do something different. I can model somebody else's patterns to do what they do. So we can utilize these patterns to understand them, to enhance them. And we can also put everything together to say that NLP is understanding how the language of the mind creates and affects the patterns and programs that we use in life. What would you like to add to that one, Lorelei?
Well, I guess that all three actually do work together simultaneously, continuously, all the time, dovetailing. So it's like you're using your neurology and your linguistic and your programming constantly all the time. It's the beauty of NLP and understanding it is that we then can be able to find ways to not only understand ourselves, but to understand other people and to have a better, more effective life.
Absolutely. And when we can have that more effective life, then not only are we better for ourselves in living the life that we want to live, then we're ultimately better for other people. So we also have, let's take a look at the NLP Communication Model. All communication is filtered in this same way. So an event happens, and every single moment an event happens. And you know that saying that says, you learn something new every day? Well, you do. There's a good chance that you're probably not going to be able to go home and write down exactly what you learned. But unconsciously, or your unconscious or subconscious or non-thinking mind stores everything. So an external event happens, and our mind automatically filters that information. So based on what we call our representational systems, or how we perceive the world, our meta programs, which is an NLP's word for some of the filters that you have if you're looking for the big picture or more of the detail, or if you're more, in a feeling mode versus a thinking mode. So there are our personality traits, if you will, or little intricate parts of who we are, as well as some filters of our values, our beliefs, our memories, our history. And then we distort, we delete, and generalize this information. So we make it fit into what we call our model of the world. And in our own personal model of the world, that's different for everyone. So on this webinar, we have about 40 people, and that means that we have about 40 different models of the world. Each and every one of us are filtering information differently based on where you're at, who you are, what time of day it is, what you're looking for, who you're interested in, what you're interested in, everything. From there, after that event has been filtered, we distort it, delete it, and generalize it to make sense of it in our world. Then our mind goes into either getting a picture of it, or seeing something, hearing something, or thinking about something. Then what happens? So from here, we create a state. Our state is an emotion or a mood. And that mood or that emotion that we're in, happy, sad, joyful, frustrated, creates our moment. And every single moment, we have complete control over the state that we're in. We'll chat about changing your state in a moment. Your state gives you a physiology, so how you hold your body. I have a very good guess that each and every one of us here, if we're in an energized, motivated mood, our body looks different than if we are in a lazy or tired or non-motivated mood. And usually you can walk into a room and at least do a mind read. You might be wrong, but you could guess at how somebody else's state is based on their body. Now this physiology based on the state gives us a behavior. A behavior is that thing that you just do. Right now, if somebody knocked on your door or your phone rang, you would change the state very quickly, but you can also change it back. One of the easiest ways to change your state is to change your physiology. Lorelei, do you want to chat to us about state management and utilizing that physiology and state?
Absolutely. For instance, if you saw two people, maybe one sitting looking down, shoulders oh goodness, that scared me. The computer just talked to me. Sorry about that, everyone. If somebody was looking down, shoulders tense, and maybe you could actually see a little thought bubble above their head, and they might be saying something to themselves like, why aren't things going my way? What's happening in my life? I wish I could be better. Then, that's a state that somebody might get into, and you might be able to walk into a room and actually see that. And what we're teaching in NLP is the fact that if the person just changes a little bit, let's say, this person that's sitting looking down and looking maybe even sad and their shoulders are tense, by having them just sit up straight and looking up, it's very difficult for them to even think those things that they were saying before. In fact, I would invite all of you to do the same right now. Perhaps think of something that if you thought about it, it might make you feel a bit, I don't know, sad or where you might be upset about something. Just for a second. Just do that just for a second. Okay, and just notice how were you holding your body. If you really were doing that, how were you holding your body, and where were your eyes? Where were they? Were they, most of you, I'd say they were probably looking down. And going down is normal kinesthetic, how you are, kinesthetic means going into the feelings of how you feel. Now do this for me. Now go ahead and sit up a little bit straight and with your head high, and look up and think the exact same thing. And as you do that, notice what happens to that thing you were thinking about. And you'll find that, we get several different answers, but the main answer, the main reply is, it's gone, or it doesn't seem to affect me, or it's more neutral. And this is another way to be able to have control of your state. Change your physiology, changes your biology, and it changes your mind. When you change your thinking, it changes the way that you hold your physiology. It changes the way that you do something. And to know this actually helps you to be able to take that lead at any moment in your time and go, wait a minute, I don't want to feel this, I don't want to be in this particular state. So if I just change something about how I'm sitting, standing, looking, saying to myself, even the way that you talk to yourself can also start making those things simply and easily change. So that's one of the things that you can actually do.
Absolutely. And a great thing is that once we change our physiology or state, then we actually start to distort, delete, and generalize in a different way. We start to utilize different filters. For me, this NLP communication model explains totally why a friend and I can be at the same exact event and have completely different memories of it, because we've filtered for different information. We've distorted, deleted, and generalized information in a different way, and so therefore we've processed it differently. So just as Lorelei said, it's quite easy to manage our state and physiology, and I quite like the fact that as we do that, as we're changing our behavior by changing our state and physiology, that we're actually changing how we're coding it in our mind. We're changing how we've distorted, deleted, and generalizing, and we're changing how we're filtering information by making a choice.
Absolutely, and the other thing that's happening is that you are taking control of your mind. You're managing your own states. You're actually managing how you want to be that day. So you're paying attention to what you want to be paying attention to versus what used to get in your way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's take a look at the NLP the NLP formula actually.
Okay. The NLP formula is something that we use in everything, and I would say I probably use the NLP formula for most everything that I am doing in life, and it's really a great way to be able to approach not only problems or issues, but anything that if you're going to be starting a new project. And what it is actually the first step we do is we actually take an account of our present state, or where are we? You know, where are you right now, your present state? And your present state, it's not only how you hold your body and what you're thinking, but it really is, you know, how you feel, you know, your environment, you know, your behaviors, all of those things, taking that into account. So where am I now? And then the next thing we look at is the desired state, or where would I rather be instead. It's really literally the flip side of the coin of present state. So present state, let's give an example. Present state might be that someone might come in and they say, well, I would like to feel more confident. I'm feeling a bit of lack of confidence right now, and I want to have more ability to be able to communicate with more ease and not necessarily feel so conscious about myself, and that's their present state. Their desired state, I would say, okay, so what do you want instead? And they would say something like, well, I want to have confidence and I want to feel happy and I would like to be able to communicate with ease and to feel as though that I am calm and have energy when I'm doing what I want to do. And
the present state and desired state are probably the most important aspects of working with myself or working with somebody else. If I don't know where somebody is, I can't really help them. I can't help myself if I don't know where I am. So it's that acknowledgement of, here's where I am.
Yeah.
And from a coaching or a therapeutic aspect, NLP is such a, and a personal development aspect, NLP is very outcome solution based. So I need to know where I'm going. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when Alice in Wonderland, when she fell down the rabbit hole and she saw the cat, I can't say Cheshire, so I'll just call it the cat. And she asked the cat, you know, which way do I go? And he said, well, where are you going? And he said, well, and she said, well, I don't know. And he said, it doesn't much matter then, does it? So it's so important to know where we're going. And not everybody knows that. A lot of people know what they don't want.
And I think that's really an important part of the NLP formula, and that's one of the reasons we like to even share it right up front with everyone, is because it's something that you can actually use now with anything that you want to do. So it's a way that we not only communicate to other people where are you, where you want to go, but even for ourselves in anything that we want to do. It's like Heidi said, you know, to me it would be like going up to a train station window and just giving you my money, and he says, where do you want to go? And I'd say, I don't know. Because it's amazing how many people don't know what they want. A lot of people do know what they don't want. But they don't know what they do want, and that's really interesting.
It is. And an interesting thing about the mind is, and some of you probably have heard this, especially if you've read a book or have taken a workshop or something of NLP, is that the mind, the unconscious mind, is unable to process negatives. So what we mean by this is, like right now, whatever you do, you know, don't think of a dog. Don't think of a dog. And then my next question becomes, what color is the dog that you didn't think of? Now, if you didn't think of a dog, that's, you know, pretty clever of you. Most people, if we say don't think of a dog, you think of a dog. In fact, in the questions box, go ahead and write the color of the dog in there, and we'll gather some of the colors that people are not thinking of when they're thinking of a dog. So therefore, when I'm thinking to myself, you know, I don't want to be tired, then that's exactly, we've got brown dogs, green dogs, black dogs, white dogs. Thank you for sharing your answers. It's great because, you know, if I can understand more about how my mind works, then I can use my mind. If I'm thinking about I don't want to be angry or I don't want to be frustrated, then that's exactly what I'm looking for. It's exactly what I'm drawing into my life. I'm not noticing all the good times and the good things. I'm only noticing what I don't want. So if I was working with a person, and I'll use Lorelei as a she can answer my questions in a moment, but if somebody walked into me and said, look, you know, and I said, so what is it that, you know, what can I help you with? What do you want? Or even if I'm just working with myself, and you know, they said, well, I don't want to be frustrated, then I'm going to ask a few other questions to say, well, what is it that you do want? Well, I don't want to be frustrated. I don't want this frustration in my life. And it's interesting, from now on, for the rest of the day or tomorrow, depending on where in the world you are, start listening for this don't word. And it's amazing. So if somebody said to me, I don't want to be frustrated, I don't want to be lonely, I don't want to be sad, and I don't want to be angry. So frustrated, lonely, sad, and angry, I could probably turn around and say, so I bet you're frustrated, lonely, sad, and angry, because that's what they're focusing on. So here's how you can flip it. So Lorelei, can I ask you some questions?
Certainly.
Okay. So this is how you flip it. If somebody only doesn't know what they want, then I can get the whole list of that and then say, okay, so Lorelei, if you weren't frustrated, what would you be?
I would be happy.
Happy. And if you weren't lonely, what would you be?
Confident.
Confident. And if you weren't sad, what would you be?
More fulfilled.
Fulfilled. And if you weren't angry, what would you be?
That's a good one. Fun.
See, she has to try it on first. Fun. So she even has to try these on first in order to figure out what the opposite that she might want it is. So the first list of what we don't want, the frustrated, the lonely, the sad, the angry, that's actually our present state. The flip of it, the happy, confident, fulfilled, and fun, is our desired state. Now we have a destination. We have somewhere we want to go.
Big part of NLP, finding out where it is they want to go instead of just trying to get away from where they want to not be. So it's very interesting. And with the NLP formula, we also look at what are their interferences. In other words, what are the blocks or the barriers, or maybe some of the unresourceful states they might have, or maybe even limiting beliefs or unuseful or negative behaviors, negative thoughts, habits. What are the things that are always getting in the way that we call the interferences? So we have a communication where we sit down and we talk about these things. You know, what we need to look at their beliefs, what they believe, and not necessarily all beliefs are worth having. Sometimes we have beliefs that get in there, maybe they're even our parents' belief, but all of a sudden we have the belief of them as well. So finding out the interferences so we can create ways to be able to clear those, because if they're cleared, then that helps to unblock the bridge that gets us from present state to the desired state.
And some of those interferences don't have to be bad things. You know, like Lorelei mentioned, it could just be a belief of somebody else's. I think a funny story, something that a lot of us have probably heard is the story of the lady who couldn't cook a roast. She couldn't bake a roast because her oven was just too, or her oven was too small, and she couldn't get the roast in there. And what she found out from her mother is that her mother used to cut the roast in half simply to fit it into her oven. But she created this belief that says, I only can cook a roast in a certain way. And that's a lot of the patterns or the behaviors or the beliefs that we generate are just passed down to us. They're learned behaviors, or they don't really make sense in our world today, but we still fulfill them, we still follow them.
Yeah, until we know better. And sometimes that's it. Once you know better, then you can do better. Absolutely. So clearing interferences is a big part, again, of getting that road clear so we can get to the desired state much more easily. The other part is building resources. What resources do you have or the person have, and what do they need? So it's not just, we take a list, we talk about, what things do you already use to help you to overcome some of the things that get in your way, and what are the things that perhaps you might need as well. Like attitudes. What might be a resourceful attitude or a resourceful emotion to use? What could be a better belief to have? That I could perhaps cook a whole roast. I don't have to necessarily always do it in a certain way. Or what kind of skills might you already have that you're not using? And maybe you have a skill in a different part of your life. That happens from time to time. For instance, sometimes people are very skillful at work. They're able to communicate effortlessly and easily and keep their desk organized, but yet they come home and they're a disaster. They don't know how to communicate very well because they've gotten into unresourceful habits when they speak to other people, and also they might be really disorganized at home. So if they have a skill in one area of their life, we have ways of being able to build that skill into another area of your life as well, or even model, because NLP was based on modeling skills, modeling behaviors, learning how to have more creative and positive thinking and thoughts, because really you're constantly talking to yourself. In fact, if I ask all of you right now who thinks they think too much, I bet if we did a poll on that, we would probably have a lot of you who would, truthfully say, well, me. And the thing is, everybody thinks all the time. Even when you're sleeping, you think. But how many of those are positive, resourceful states? I remember once teaching a course in NLP, and it was like the first day, and one of the girls said, she raised her hand, and she said, so you mean this NLP stuff is just airy-fairy, positive, rose-colored glasses, and if you do that, you'll be all right? And and it's all just about positive affirmations, and the answer to that is that's very helpful, but that's not the only way to really find your pathway to getting to your desired state. It's learning to control your mind, your own brain, and take account of what resources do I have and what do I need so I can actually get to where I need to go.
Absolutely. So we've got another little poll up here. But this NLP formula, we utilize it all the time. If I'm just working with myself and I have a desired state and I would like to know, more about how to do something, then I'm looking at this NLP formula for myself. Where am I? Where do I want to go? What might be stopping me from getting there? And what resources do I have and what do I need? And then I'm also looking at at this when I'm working with my clients in a coaching situation. I'm also looking at this if I'm helping a business, if I'm looking at this formula when I'm working on our business or within the business. We might have a present state of X number of practitioner courses a year, and we want more. And so then we have a desired state, and we're looking at interferences and resources. So this is a very, very useful tool to utilize in every aspect of life. And there's a good chance that whatever you're doing or whatever work you're in, you do something similar to this. And now we just have a little bit of a structure about it.
Mm. And one thing we say in NLP a lot is that energy flows where your attention goes, and that is so very, very true. Wherever you're putting your attention on, if it's constantly present state, present state, present state, then you're going to get a lot more present state. So when you look at what interferes, what blocks you, and then we use some great NLP techniques to clear those, and also, you know, what helps us? What can we build to be able to build that highway that will support us? Because a lot of people want something. In fact, there's an old saying that people say, be careful of what you want because you might get it. And in a way, that's half true. The thing is, why people might be afraid of getting what they want is because it's not sufficiently founded. And when you build those resources to support it, then it is founded. Then you can go and you can say, this is where I want to go, and this is how I'm going to get there, and I can do it. Because one of the things we say also in NLP is that you're the one that's in charge of your mind and therefore your brain. So, you know, getting to your desired state is really something that you need to do for yourself. And you can use resources to have people help you, but it needs to be about you, doing it for you.
Yeah, last week I was working with a client, and it was the second time that I saw her and utilizing NLP as a therapeutic or coaching model. And we worked on specifically finding her desired state. She came to me with a problem, and she just knew that she didn't want this. She didn't want to have the life that she had from it. She knew she didn't want to have the problems that it gave to her. And so we spent a lot of time figuring out what she wanted. And in the beginning of our last session, she said, well, you know, it's kind of like a dream. It's just a hope. It's just a wish. It's just a dream that I can have this. I don't know if I can really have it. And by the end of the session, because we utilized an NLP technique called the achievable outcome, which makes something very specific and very tangible and very real, she walked out of my office going, wow, I know what I want. And it's not just a dream. I know I can have it. Because otherwise, just having a dream is great, but if it's only a dream, it's always too far away.
Yep. And I find that sometimes if you don't have a really good utilization of the formula itself, then people sometimes get complacent as well, and they say, well, you know, my present state isn't really that bad, because sometimes they don't have a place to start, so they don't even know how to begin, so they just settle for their present state because the desired state is too much of a dream, and what they have, at least they know they have it. And they become complacent and just kind of stay there, and before you know it, you know, 10 years is gone and you haven't moved any further. Not necessarily that life is about a race getting someplace, but you're not necessarily growing, and maybe people, I believe, have come to this lifetime to do something, you know, to be able to achieve. And my guess is, again, if I ask everyone, if I polled everybody right now and said, how many of you believe that you've come to accomplish something in the world? But you may not exactly know what it is, or maybe you do. You know, I would guess that probably if everybody was being truthful, everybody would say, yeah, I know I've come for something. And some of you know what it is, and some of you don't. And finding it is also utilizing even the NLP formula.
We've got a couple of people saying, yes, I have. I know that I'm here for something. Not sure what I'm here for, but I know it. So thank you very much for your input there. So NLP can be used in a number of ways. So let's take a look at the three main ways that we can utilize NLP. And when we're training NLP, if it's in a workshop or if it's in an NLP certification course, we're always looking and filtering NLP in these three ways. So we might be looking at a certain technique, and we'll be looking at how you can utilize it in personal development, so with yourself and for yourself, in business, and in coaching. By the way, the methods that we use to build this bridge in order to move from our present state to our desired state are a variety of NLP techniques that you can learn to clear the interferences and build and access resources. So there are various processes like changing beliefs, or modeling somebody else, or something called a parts integration. So we actually have a lot of techniques that are clearing those interferences and building and accessing resources to get somebody from where they're at to where they want to go. So back to using NLP. First and foremost, and I think Lorelei will agree here, is that NLP is for personal development. That we're looking at how can I understand my mind and my behaviors and my attitudes so that I can do better in my life.
Absolutely. I conducted a training in Singapore a couple of weeks ago, and one of the participants afterward, she came up to me and said, "This was the most incredible course I've ever taken." She said, my company actually sent me here, and I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I've had some, what she would call mainstream NLP in some of the courses I've taken before at work, but nothing on this kind of a range. And she said, I didn't expect it to be personal development. And she said, I got so much more out of it because it was that than I would have if it would have been anything else, because now I know how I can personally apply this, and it's helping me to really become the person that I want to be. So personal development was kind of, for her, a bonus. For a lot of people, I guess they know they might be getting that if they come and learn NLP, but for her, she thought it was amazing.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people actually don't. They think they're going to come and learn more communication skills or how to help other people. But first and foremost, NLP is really for self. It's, if I can understand how I communicate, then I can communicate more effectively. If I can understand how I get motivated, I can use that. If I can understand my interferences, if I have fears or anxieties or angers, and I can do something with myself to help me, I can do better. I can then be a better parent. I can be a better spouse. I can be a better friend. I can be better.
And there's nothing wrong with being better.
Gold.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
It's perfect.
I mean, NLP was based upon psychology and also modeling excellence, and it kind of reminds me of a quote that Carl Jung, who was a great psychologist, once said, and he said, I've often seen individuals simply outgrow a problem which had destroyed other people, and it was because perhaps they started to use their brain for a change.
Absolutely, that's a good quote.
And it is, and a lot of people don't use their brain for a change. They let their brain kind of run amok with all these programs and filters that they may be theirs, or they don't even know why they're there. So personal developing is understanding, how you think, how you develop, how you, make your connections, and we teach that in NLP. It's a fundamental part of what we're teaching. So the therapeutic side comes through, I suppose, with that, but it's really so rewarding to watch people leave a course and they have cleared, and you can see it in their face and their eyes, and the feedback we get is phenomenal.
Yeah, that they've grown, which is just, it's such a neat transformation to watch. So not only can we utilize NLP in a personal development way, and even by changing some of our filters, it's almost impossible to not develop personally from a course like this or from understanding NLP. We can also utilize it in business. Do you want to share a bit about business with us?
Certainly. The business aspects of NLP, are based upon the communication model, I suppose, in many ways, understanding how to communicate more effectively with not only yourself but also with other people in a business setting. Understanding that not everybody is wired the same, and that just because you speak or communicate in a certain way, not everybody would perhaps respond in that same exact way. So finding ways to be able to, what I say is learn even a new kind of a language. You might speak the same literal language, but how to be able to speak the internal language of another person. And that is really an important aspect of the business side of NLP. But it's even more than that. It's also being able to understand and have an awareness of, again, where you are and where you want to be going in the business, and setting up ways to be able to find out what your values are about whatever you're doing in business, so you can align your values with business with your own values perhaps, and find that that creates a greater awareness and a greater outcome for you. Creating ways to be able to be financially viable in business. I mean, that was one of the things that attracted me in the early days to NLP, was the fact that if I could have a better understanding of where I am and where I'm going, and create a pathway to get there, that I could create financial freedom. So that was important to me as well. But it's more than money. It's more than that. It's the business aspect of NLP. There's a lot to be learned with it. Time management. We also can help people with time management in the business sense using NLP. Can you think of anything
Definitely. I
else,
mean,
Heidi?
yeah, absolutely. I think from a business perspective, NLP looks at questions and how to understand, what questions to ask people. So from a sales perspective, from a management, from a leadership perspective, if you can use your language more effectively, then you can be more effective in yourself. Understanding your employees, understanding your clients, being able to find out more about their model of the world so you can communicate more effectively. Being able to utilize the NLP skills to clear any of your interferences, or very linguistically doing some linguistic change work with people to help your employees or your clients overcome any interferences that might be stopping them from success. And also NLP includes a great deal of what's called Ericksonian hypnosis. One of the people that NLP was modeled on was a gentleman named Milton Erickson, who was a medical doctor and also a hypnotherapist and a psychiatrist. And we utilize a lot of conversational hypnotic work within NLP. So from a business perspective, you can be, without being manipulative, because NLP is very high on ecology, making sure that things are good for you, for the people around you. But we can utilize language in a way that's very motivational, very persuasive, and we can learn to negotiate a whole lot better and be more flexible in our behaviors in order to get more of the outcomes that we want. So from a business perspective, it's huge.
And if you look at the successful business leaders now and also from the past, we can actually model some of their aspects, and that's part of NLP as well, being able to model something that somebody does really, really well and bring it into your own life. There's so many possibilities. It's really endless in the business aspects of NLP. So I would say that when people come, they're going to be able to figure out how they want to use NLP. First of all and foremost, of course, personally they will be developing, but also in a business way, how they could perhaps use that in their own business or their job or profession.
Absolutely. And then a lot of people want to become or are coaches and use NLP. And, from a life coaching, a business coaching, executive coaching, even therapeutic or counseling. My take on coaching is that anybody who is a parent, a friend, a brother, a sister, a sibling, a manager, a leader is a coach. Everybody works with other people, and we can utilize the skills of NLP to help others. So personal development is self, coaching is now applying NLP with others. And I utilize the word with purposefully because it's not doing NLP to somebody, it's actually including them and utilizing these skills with them. So as a coach.
Yep, and coaching is something that has a thought when it comes to the old way of coaching. When you think about it, people yelling through bullhorns, come on, do 2 more, do 3 more. NLP coaching is not that type of coaching. It's the type of coaching where we, like Heidi said, we work with the person to develop specifically what they're working towards, and then we set up the steps and the ways to help a person achieve that. And it is very much based upon enhancing their resources that they already have, and of course, again, still utilizing the old NLP formula, creating a way to do that by eliminating or clearing some of the interferences. But coaching in itself, from an NLP perspective, is very linguistic at times, sometimes a bit hypnotic because we're always talking to the person, but we're also helping them to come up with what they want to have in their life. And it's a lot of performance enhancement, how to enhance what they're doing now and make it even better.
Definitely. And also from that coaching perspective, a lot of it's linguistic and just conversational change work, and sometimes we have people close their eyes and go into the internal mind so they can imagine something on the screen of their mind and utilize the different processes that help us to enhance and clear things so that we're really helping build that bridge to get our clients or our friends or our family members from where they're at now to where they want to be.
Right. Good.
Yeah. So let's take a look at learning NLP. So for those of you that are interested in doing more than just reading a book or attending a webinar or attending a workshop at some point in time, you can learn, and probably one of the best ways to learn NLP is by taking an NLP certification course. The NLP training that we have, where there's 3 different levels of NLP training globally. Do you want to share with us what these are?
Certainly will. And just to expand upon that a little bit, I know a lot of people who've read a lot of NLP books, and in fact the other day I had somebody, one of my clients came in and he said, oh, I've read a lot of NLP but I really don't understand it. And the interesting thing is you can understand NLP by reading it, I suppose. However, I think the best way, like Heidi said, is to take it in person, because it needs that interaction and being able to get it in your muscle. In fact, there's an old New Guinea saying that says, knowledge is only a rumor until you get it in your muscle. So by actually taking a real course and class in it, even if you don't want to be a practitioner of it, NLP practitioner happens to be the name of level 1 and 2, but it just means that you know how to practice it, and that's just the name they gave it. But it's really learning how to utilize and gain that those skills for yourself so that you can be able to use the tools of NLP. And again, it's best learned in that interactive training environment. And the first level of NLP teaches the fundamental information, skills, the knowledge, yet it allows you to also practice with those tools and methodologies as you learn. So what we're doing is we're having you practice as you go along. We'll teach something and then you have time to actually practice it. So then you do get it in your muscle and it stays. And I guess because the skills of NLP are used to teach NLP, that there's that natural accelerated learning aspect to NLP. So we teach the first level in 8 days, and they're 8 days in a row, and we find that when people learn it that way, they really do get it in their muscle and they retain it.
Yeah, a few years ago we used to teach, we had an option of either doing an 8-day in a row course or over 3 3-day weekends, making it 9 days. And we did a bit of a study to see, out of those 2 groups, who retained the information the most, who utilized it the best, and who knew it. And what we found was the people who did it in the block of 8 days actually by far surpassed the understanding and knowledge and skills of people that did it in the weekend. So a few years ago, probably about 5 years ago, we cut out all of our weekend courses so that we can just immerse people in the learnings of NLP.
Right, and I would say that a lot of times people say, but I don't have 8 days, but you do. You have 365 days in a year, and out of those, to allow yourself to take 8 of those, and you can find a way to be able to not only learn it, but to change your life is really paramount and important.
Absolutely. If you're traveling into Sydney or into Singapore, we have suggestions for where you can stay, but it's not a residential course. So you can, if you are in Sydney or Singapore, then you can easily go home in the evenings and then come back the next day. The course runs from 9 a.m. to about 6 p.m. each day, and they are certification courses. So there's reading to do, there's a bit of homework to do, there's a take-home knowledge review that you complete, as well as practical exercises that you complete in class. So it's very hands-on. Like Lorelei was saying, we might teach and demonstrate how to do something. Say, for example, a belief change, and then you will get into a partner, so you'll grab a partner and you will utilize this process with each other. So not only are you learning what something is and how to do it and why you would do it, but you're also really getting that hands-on foundational knowledge of utilizing these skills and knowing how it works, and also from that personal development standpoint, walking out after those 8 days squeaky clean, because you're addressing life and you're addressing what might be holding you back, or addressing what you can use to enhance yourself and becoming more of who you are. So it's an absolutely wonderful tool, great gift to give to yourself. So we'd like to thank you for being here today.
And wouldn't we, though? Because it really is great to be able to share this information with you, even though it's been brief. So I'd love to be able to see you, and I know Heidi would too. It's a joy to be able to help people to learn this, because it's like a drop in the water. We help you, and then you also take what you've learned and utilize it with your friends and your family and people you work with, and before you know it, everybody starts having a better life. It starts one by one.
And it's absolutely wonderful to be able to share this information. Like Lorelei said, you know, when we do have the ability to share with people how to use their mind more effectively, then it just makes a world of difference. And it's a pleasure to be able to be here today and share this information with you. And like Lorelei said, we do hope we'll see you somewhere in the world and share more of our world of NLP with you.
And thanks for taking this hour with us. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day or evening, everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye.